Welcome. And let me start by congratulating you on taking your happiness seriously and taking the first steps to become a happier person. By teaming up with PERT and receiving support from Coach Ava, you can become a happier person. But there's a question of where do we start? There's so many different ideas and angles and research studies out there. Do we start by counting our acts of kindness or engaging in random acts of kindness? Do we start by gratitude letters and gratitude journals or interventions related to mindfulness and breathing exercises? Where do we start? Well, recently we published a study, 4 studies in a publication that attempt to answer the question of where do you start? This is research I did with Andrew Hull at MacEwan University and Holly Ann Passmore, one of my PhD students here at UBC. And we looked at where do you start? What we did is we measured people's attitudes towards happiness, what they believed was in their control. And it turns out there's a range of things. Some people think there's nothing they can do to change their happiness, and other people believe that it was in their control, there's lots they can do. And what's interesting is people who believed that they had control over their happiness were indeed happier themselves. You might ask what type of happiness that they have. We think of happiness as having at least 2 types, hedonia and eudaimonia. Hedonia is the happiness you get from the sensory pleasures. Some think of it as a more superficial happiness. And eudaimonia is the type of happiness that Aristotle referred to as coming from living the good life. By being connected to others, reaching out and helping others, being connected to the community. Well, people who believed that their happiness was in their control had both types of happiness at a higher level. And that seems to be the part of the secret of becoming happy, is to have both types of happiness at a high level. But of course this was a correlational study, so we took it a step further in the 4th study of this series. What we did is we randomly assigned people to 2 different groups, and then we gave them information based on science of whether or not they could change their happiness. We told one group that happiness was pretty much in their genetics, and whether they won a lottery or whether they lost a limb, their happiness levels changed very little, and only for a short time. The other group, we gave them different information. We told them about how happiness can change throughout the lifespan and how many interventions have been shown to be able to increase a person's happiness. When we gave them these different sets of information, it had an effect on their personal beliefs. People who were told that they could change their happiness believed that, and they thought that happiness strategies, interventions, could indeed increase their happiness. And this is important. It's important because it tells us something about where to start in terms of happiness. One of the places to start is to understand that you do have control of your happiness, that science has shown us clearly that there's things you can do. Many of the interventions used with PERT that Coach Ava guides you through, that there's things you can do to increase your happiness. So by believing in that, I think it's a good place to start, because it will lead us on the journey to a more successful outcome, to be happier. Thanks very much. Take care.